Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. For those of you that are tuning in on my YouTube channel, thank you so much for being here. I ask that you would please like, please share, please subscribe, invite your friends, invite those that are colleagues of yours, and comment, engage. Let me know what you are hearing and understanding from this information. For those of you that are listening in on my podcast, Fundable by Design, I want to say thank you for being a part of the community and thank you for making the podcast, Fundable by Design, one of the top 100 nonprofit podcasts in the country. It is because of your listening, it is because of your downloading, it is because of your subscribing that we have been elevated to one of the best podcasts in the country. And I could not have done it without you and your listening and your commenting and engaging. So thank you so much for being a part of this community. Listen, I want to dive into a topic that I think will be very helpful and enlightening to you. As we talk about why many of you feel lost, feel overwhelmed, and stuck, okay? This is a hidden crisis that no one talks about. And I'm speaking specifically to those of you that have started a nonprofit organization and finding yourself stuck. You started your nonprofit organization and you are finding yourself overwhelmed. You started your nonprofit organization and you're funding everything out of your own pocket. You have started your nonprofit organization and you are struggling with getting the donors, the supporters, the contributors, the funders, the board members to help you do that work. And I want to talk about the hidden crisis that no one speaks about or prepares you for. Okay? This is a massive hidden crisis in the nonprofit space. And most people don't even realize it exists. For those of you that are new to me, my name is Jennifer. I am a nonprofit expert, 40 years of experience. My entire career and my entire profession has been in helping nonprofit leaders start, grow, sustain their nonprofit businesses. It was my full-time job to help 1,000 organizations nationally and internationally put together their organizations to raise money. And for those of you that are struggling with raising money, for those of you that don't have donors, don't have supporters, don't have partners, don't have contributors, those of you that are paying for everything out of your own pocket, you got a great program. Your mission is amazing, but you are stuck. I want to talk to you. And for those of you that are thinking about starting a nonprofit, I want to help you not fall into this very massive yet common trap that a lot of people fall into. And you don't even realize it. You don't even realize that this void or this crisis even exists. Many of you everywhere, no matter where you are, no matter what country you're in, no matter what a type of organization you have, no matter what your mission is, many of you every day are searching for clarity. Many of you are searching for clarity as to how do we find board members? How do we raise money? How do we get grants? How do I pay for salaries, right? Many of you are searching online for answers as it relates to how do I find donors? How do I find partners? How do I get my board to help us raise money? Many of you are searching online for donor help, right? I need funders. I need supporters. I need contributors. I need my board to help raise money. Many of you are searching online, searching for board help. Jen, how do I find board members? Jen, how many board members am I supposed to have? Jen, how do I get my board engaged, right? Many of you are searching online for reassurance that you're not failing. Jen, I started my nonprofit organization, but now I'm stuck. Jen, I started my nonprofit organization, but I don't know what to do next. And you're wanting reassurance that you are not failing. Am I right? Am I right? Because deep down, many of you are searching for these answers because you feel overwhelmed. You feel confused. You feel exhausted. You feel emotionally stuck. And the heartbreaking part is that you thought starting a nonprofit would solve the problem, right? You started your nonprofit because you want to help. You started your nonprofit because you wanted to meet a need. You started your nonprofit because you really wanted to affect change in your community, right? That's the heartbreaking part. The heartbreaking part is that you started your nonprofit organization with the right intentions, with the desire to really meet need. And you thought starting the organization would solve the problem. Instead, you started the nonprofit organization and it created a level of pressure that you were never prepared for. Am I right? You started your nonprofit organization and now you feel a level of pressure. Pressure to get funding, pressure to get donors, pressure to get financial relief, pressure to get help. And you weren't prepared for that. And this is the biggest thing that most of you were never taught about what a nonprofit actually is, right? Because you hear online, start a nonprofit, you can get a grant. Start a nonprofit, you can get funders. Start a nonprofit, you can get donors, right? And so you assume, or possibly were taught, that if I start a nonprofit, I automatically can get funding. If I start a nonprofit, I can automatically get a grant. If I got my 501c3, then I could get donors. The problem is that you were never taught what a nonprofit organization actually is. Most of you, because of what you hear online, start a nonprofit, you can get a grant. You think that your nonprofit is your program. Jen, I started my nonprofit to help single moms. Jen, I started my nonprofit to help the homeless. Jen, I started my nonprofit to do a transitional house. Jen, I started my nonprofit to do a after school program. Jen, I started my nonprofit to help the elderly. So you might think that your nonprofit organization is the program, and it's not. Another thing that you hear is someone who says, I can help you start your nonprofit. I can do the paperwork. I can help you start your nonprofit. I can do the paperwork. So you may think that the nonprofit is the paperwork, right? That once I've submitted the paperwork, I have a nonprofit. Once I've gotten my 501c3, I have a nonprofit. And that's not true. What you have is the paperwork. What you have is the program, but that is not the organization. The nonprofit organization and the program are two different things. But many of you have been taught, start a nonprofit, you can get a grant. Start a nonprofit, you can get funding. Start a nonprofit, you can get sponsors. Start a nonprofit, you can raise money. But it is not the program that raises the money. It is the organization. And that is where many of you have not been taught. How do you put together the organization? Because many of you didn't start your nonprofit to put together the organization. You started it to do a program. And you thought, once I start my nonprofit, I can get funding. Once I start my nonprofit, I can get grants. Once I start my nonprofit, I can get donors. But what you did not understand is that your nonprofit organization and the program are not the same thing. It is not the program that gets the money. It's the organization. That's the governance. That's your fundraising systems. That's your CRM. That's the people that know about what you do. That's your operational structure. That's your budgeting. That's your financial management. That's your ability to have you know what your budget is in terms of your expenses. The program is an expense, but operationally, you understand where money comes from to cover the expense. That's the part that's not taught. Donor stewardship is not just asking for money or having a CRM, it's having the message, it's having the engagement, it's having the interest that would cause those that would be donors, supporters, contributors to know why they should be inspired to continue to support. That is sustainability. The money doesn't come out of thin air, and the money does not come because you have a program. You also have to understand financial controls. Many of you are lost. Many of you are stuck. Many of you are confused about why you're stuck. You have an amazing program. You have an amazing mission, but your program is not the organization. Did you hear what I said? You launched the program because emotionally, that's what your passion was. Jen, I want to help single moms. Jen, I want to help the homeless. Jen, I want to do transitional house. Jen, I want to do an after school program. Jen, I want to do a summer program. So you launched it because emotionally, that's what you wanted to do. I want to help. I want to solve problem. I want to meet need. I want to do good. I want to help someone. Nothing's wrong with that. But that is not the organization. You didn't set up the organization. You launched because of an emotion to help. So you started the program. But now you're confused because now you don't have funding. Now you're paying for everything out of your pocket. Now you don't have board members. Now your board members that you do have can't help you raise money. Now they're not engaged. Now you can't get the grant. But you thought once you start a nonprofit, you can get a grant because that's what they said. They said, start a nonprofit, you can get a grant. Start a nonprofit, you can get funding. But the money doesn't go to the program. And you never set up the organization. That's why you're struggling. That's why you're lost. That's why you're stuck. You did not set up the organization. You did not start the organization. You didn't start the organization. And the organization is what gets the grant, not the program. The organization is what is designed to raise the money, not the program. The organization is what manages the money and oversees and is responsible for bringing in the money to pay the expenses of the program. Let me say this. One of the biggest misconceptions is those of you that believe that if the people see the need, they will support. Once they see our program, once they understand the great work we're doing, once they understand our mission, once they see the evidence that we're doing the work, once they understand my passion, once they know we have a 501c3, once they see and hear my mission, once they see my website and all the work that we do, then they will give. That by having a 501c3, they'll give me a donation. By being categorized under the status of nonprofit, they'll donate money just because I have a nonprofit organization, just because I have a program, just because I have my 501c3, that's going to cause them to give. They're going to want to give, Jen, because I'm a 501c3. They're going to want to give, Jen, because I'm a tax exempt organization. No, you're not. No, you're not. You never set up the organization. You never set up the organization. You filed the paperwork to be recognized as an organization, right? You got your 501c3, you got an EIN, you got your articles of incorporation, you put your mother, your brother, your dog, your cat, your fish on the board, right? You're set up. You look like a nonprofit organization on paper. On paper, you got your EIN, you've got an organizational website, you got a website, you've got a phone, you got a program. On paper, you look like you have everything that you need to operate as a nonprofit organization. But honestly, all you have is a piece of paper and a program that you launched. Jen, we're feeding the homeless. Jen, we're helping single moms. Jen, we're mentoring youth. Jen, we're doing an after-school program. Jen, we're helping veterans. All the things that you're doing is not the nonprofit organization. And unfortunately, that's the piece and the part that you were never told. You were told, start a nonprofit, you can get a grant. Start a nonprofit, you can get donors. Start a nonprofit, you can be funders. Get your 501c3. You know, if you're a 501c3, you can apply for grants. But what they did not tell you is that the donor, the grant funder, the sponsor, those that would give the money, they do not evaluate your passion or your starting a program, nor do they evaluate that on paper you are a 501c3. Donors and supporters and contributors, that grant funder, they evaluate, can they trust your organization? Not that you have one on paper, but that you know how to operate the organization, that you know how to structure the organization, that the organization is sustainable, that the organization has leadership and stewardship. Not just we have a board, Jen. I got my mother, my brother, my dog, my cat, my fish on the board, Jen, but they're not helping. You have no accountability. You have no sustainability. Jen, we don't have a budget. No, Jen, we don't have a plan for accounting. We don't have a plan for fundraising. Jen, I'm paying for everything out of my own pocket. No, we don't have any help. Jen, I'm doing everything. Are you hearing me? So your donors, the funders, the supporters, the contributors, they don't feel that they can trust the organization with their money. The money doesn't go to your program. But see, that's not what they told you. They said, start a nonprofit. You can get a grant. Start a nonprofit. There's grants, you can go to grants.gov because you're a 501c3. It's not because you're a 501c3 that gets the grant. It's not because you are labeled or have the status of nonprofit that gets the grant. It's your organization's structure. What does structure mean, Jen? The way that you operate the organization. Can they trust the organization with their money? We know you're going to spend the money, but do you have a sustainability plan? Do you have a budget? Is there sound leadership? Do you know how to generate the revenue for the ongoing work of the mission? Is the organization stable? If the organization is not stable, hear me now, if the organization is not stable, they're not giving that organization money. They're not giving money because you have passion. Are you hearing me? And now you are drowning in fragmented or incomplete information. Incomplete information. Because the person that said, I can help you start your nonprofit. And so you think, right? I can help you start your nonprofit. I can do the paperwork. So now you've got your paperwork submitted. You get your letter of determination back, and you think, I started a nonprofit organization. No, you did not. You filled out paperwork to be recognized as an organization. You didn't start the organization. I'm going to say that again for the people in the bushes. You filled out paperwork to operate as a not-for-profit organization. That's what the paperwork is. Gives you the permission to function, to operate as a tax-exempt or as a nonprofit organization. It does not mean you started it. And this is huge because many of you are drowning thinking that the paperwork, once I got my paperwork, Jen, I'm a nonprofit. No, you're not. No, you're not. And so you get your paperwork and now you launch the program, right? Now you're paying for materials. Now you're paying for supplies. Now you're paying for equipment. Now you're paying for gas. Now you're paying for the phone. Now you're paying bills, right? Money going out. No money coming in, money going out. Because you thought once I got my paperwork and once I started my program, I can get a grant. And that's not true. And that is why you're drowning. You're consuming incomplete advice. You're consuming YouTube clips. You're consuming random webinars. You're trying to find a grant list. You're trying to find templates. You're trying to find a digital product. You're trying to find startup kits. That's what you're consuming. But none of those things explain. Hear what I said now. None of those things explain how the organization itself must function. You didn't even think about that because nobody told you. You didn't know. You thought once I started, once I got my 501c3, I could get a grant. I didn't even think about the organization functioning. I didn't even think about the role, the responsibility, the accountability, the structure of the organization. I just launched a program. I thought once I started my program, Jen, that I could get funding for my program. I thought that my startup grant would give me money to run the program. Am I telling the truth? So because you weren't prepared, because you weren't taught, because no one is saying it, you thought, well, they said, Jen, once I started my paperwork, once I got my paperwork, I'm a nonprofit, that I'm structured as a nonprofit. No, no. The paperwork just says, what's the name of the organization? What's the address of the organization? What's the website of the organization? What's the phone number of the organization? Who's on the board? It does not say, how do you operate? How do you function? How are your systems in place to generate revenue? That's the role of the organization. The role of the organization is to oversee the operations of the program financially. The organization is to bring in the money to pay the expenses of the program. But the program is not the organization. And if you don't set the organization up to raise money, this program can't operate. So now you're stuck. Now you're overwhelmed. And now you're trying to figure out, what am I missing? So now you go get some more advice over here. You go watch YouTube over there. You go to Uncle Chat and you go to Google and you're just typing in, how do I raise money? How do I find a grant? How do I do all these things? And you're piecing it together. Or worse, you are self-funding it. You got the paperwork, and now you are paying everything for the organization. Because you don't realize, because you didn't set the organization up, the organization is designed to bring in the money to support itself. But you didn't do that. You launched the program. You got your piece of paper filled out. You launched the program thinking, once I start my program, Jen, I can get a grant. Once I start my program, Jen, I can get funding. Once I start my program, Jen, I can get donors. Once I start my program, Jen, we can fundraise later. Once we get our name out there for a while, and most of you, it's 3 years. Once we get our name out there for 3 years, Jen, funding will come later. And now you're 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years in, no money, no board. You're still funding everything out of your pocket. Why? Because you never set up or started the organization. And now you're chasing grants because you got a 501c3. Now you're chasing grants because you got paperwork that says you're a nonprofit. But let's think about this, okay? Because now you're saying, why is this so hard? Why is this so hard? I just wanted to help people. I just wanted to make a difference. Why is this so hard? I'm going to tell you why it's so hard. You never set up the organization. The nonprofit organization and the program are not the same thing. But you didn't know that. And that's not what they're telling you. And because you did not know, right? You didn't know. You've got an amazing program. You've got an amazing mission, but no money to keep it going. Why not? That's the role of the organization. That's what you started or were supposed to have started, but you never started the organization. You immediately got your paperwork filled out and launched the program. And the program is only an expense. The program doesn't raise money. The program only spends money, materials, supplies, equipment, space, the person running the program, the gas, the snacks, everything money going out, everything going out. Jen, I need a grant for my program. Jen, my program needs a grant. The money doesn't go to the program. The money goes to the organization. Now, the grant writer may not have told you that, right? So now you're frustrated that you don't have a grant. Can't get a grant. Can't get donors. Can't get funders. Can't get supporters. I don't know why, Jen. How come I can't get donors? How come I can't get board members? How come I can't get a grant? How come I can't? Because you never put the organization together. That's why. You never started the organization. You got the paperwork for it, but you never started it. Let me say that again. You got the paperwork for you to start the organization, but you never started it. You launched the program. And because you heard start a nonprofit, you can get a grant, you thought all I got to do is have paperwork and then I can get a grant for my program. But the grant doesn't go to the program. And a nonprofit refers not to the program, but to the organization. Put organization in the chat. So now you done registered at the state and at the IRS to be recognized as an entire organization that you never set up. That's what that piece of paper says, right? You got a piece of paper that says determination letter. The determination letter says your application for recognition to be a 501c3 under the Internal Revenue Code 501c3, your application for recognition as an organization has been accepted, right? That's all it says, is that you now are officially recognized as a nonprofit organization. It does not say you started one. Because had you started the organization that is recognized as a not for profit or a tax exempt organization, the organization then, being a tax exempt organization, is bringing in money that is exempt of taxes, not program. I'm going to say that again for the people in the bushes. Y'all got this thing. Listen, and it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Because all you see online is grant, 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 get a grant, get a grant, start a nonprofit, get a grant. I can help you start your nonprofit. I can do the paperwork. The paperwork just says that you are now able to operate as. It does not say you started it. In fact, the paperwork says that your organization already exists. Who's applying? Who's applying on the 1023 form? It says name of applicant, full name of organization. That's what it says on the paperwork. Who's the applicant? The organization is the applicant. The organization is applying to be recognized as a tax exempt organization. What does that mean? Your organization has the tools, has the system, have the ability, have the capacity to bring in money that's exempt of taxes. That has nothing to do with the program. So you get your paperwork filled out and then you launch the program. And you're running around here thinking you got an organization. Jen, I'm a nonprofit. Jen, I'm a nonprofit. I'm a nonprofit, Jen. I got my paperwork. I got my paperwork, Jen. That's not what the paperwork says. Look at the paperwork. Look at it. It says determination letter. What does that determination letter say? It says your organization is now determined to be recognized as a tax exempt organization. What does that mean? That means your organization is prepared, knows how, is set up to bring in money that is exempt of taxes. That has nothing to do with program. But the requirement is that your organization can bring in the money to pay the expenses of the program, that it can achieve the mission of the program. But y'all got this thing wrong, and it's not your fault. You didn't know. Because you're getting snippets. You're going over here to Cousin Chat. You're going over here to YouTube University. You're going over here to the other places. Ask all these groups, how do I start a nonprofit? How do I start a nonprofit? And they say, start up. I can do your paperwork. Now you got paperwork, no money, no budget, doing everything by yourself. Everybody's volunteering. You're now burnout. This is where burnout happens. Because now you're an entire organization. And you don't know what to do next. You don't have a fundraising strategy. You don't have an operational system to raise money. You don't know how to operate the CRM. You don't have financials. You're paying for everything out of your pocket. Your board's not even functioning. You don't even know how to find board members. That's all organizational work, working together and designed, when set up right, to bring in the money. But that doesn't even exist. No, Jen, we don't have a fundraising plan. No, Jen, we don't have. You know what, Jen? I don't even have time to do that because I'm so focused on my program. All of my time, Jen, is in the program. But the program is only an expense. So if you're telling the grant funder, if you're telling the donor, if you're telling the sponsor, if you're telling the contributor that, yeah, I've got my 501c3, but no, we don't have a board. No, we don't have a budget. No, we don't have financials. No, we don't have a fundraising strategy. No, I'm doing everything by myself. You know what that says to them? That says your organization is weak. They are evaluating the strength of your organization. Your organization oversees the mission being accomplished through the program. If your organization is weak, they think your program is weak. If your organization is not operating and functioning properly, they think your program is as well. And then you're running around saying, "Well, Jen, we're doing we do the 990 postcard. We just do the postcard, Jen. What does the postcard say? We don't have any money. Mm-mm. We don't have any money. But you're a tax exempt organization. Put organization in the chat. You are a tax exempt organization. What does that mean? That means your organization is set up and structured and knows how to bring in money that is exempt of taxes. But you didn't set any of that up. And you've proclaimed on paper, no, we don't have any funding. No, we don't have any money. No, we don't have any financials. I'm paying for everything out of my pocket. My board's not even helping me raise the money. That's a reflection on your organization. And that's what you started. Your 501c3 or your nonprofit that you want to start is an organization. Put organization in the chat. It's not a program. And now you are stuck. And now you are confused. And now you're overwhelmed. And now you're trying to figure out how come I can't get a grant? And how come I can't find board members? And how come I'm overwhelmed? And how come I'm doing everything by myself? And how come nothing I'm doing is working? Now you're trying to figure out how do I find a grant? How do I find donors? How do I get funding? How do I get sponsors? All of that is your organization's work. You didn't set that up. And because you did not set it up, you have now made this entire organization your personal sacrifice. That's how you set it up. You set it up to depend on you. Jen, I pay for everything. Jen, I do everything. Jen, I don't have any help. Jen, I don't have board members. Jen, I'm running the program, running the organization, raising the money. Jen, I do everything. Jen, we're not able to hire help. Jen, we're not able to scale. Why? Because you never started the nonprofit organization. It breaks my heart. And this is the crisis that you're in, right? Because now you are searching online, right? You're searching for clarity. You're online saying, I need help. I need help with clarity. I need coaching. I need mentoring. I need funding. I need donor help. I need help with boards. I need help to raise money, right? That's what you're searching. You need reassurance that I didn't start this whole thing. And now I'm not going to be able to keep it going. You are searching frantically. I need clarity. I need help. I need donors. I need funders, right? Is that what y'all are searching? How do I find board members? How do I get grants? How do I get donors? How do I get supporters? How do I get partners? That's what you're searching. And the entire answer is in how your organization was set up. That's the answer. You never set up the organization. And truth be told, from the outside, what you see of a nonprofit organization is only their program. When you look at an organization, a nonprofit organization from the outside, you see their programs being delivered. You see them giving away backpacks. You see them feeding the homeless. You see them handing out P&J sandwiches. You see them doing the work in the community. So in your mind, that's the nonprofit. I want to help people, Jen. I want to do a mentoring program. I want to do an after school program because you're mimicking what you see from the outside of other organizations. But what you don't see is what's happening inside the organization. Those that are building partnerships with those things that are donated, the conversations that are initiated to get donors and funders and supporters. That part you don't see. So you're trying to mimic from the outside what you see. Jen, we want to have a shelter. We want to give it away. Jen, when I was in trouble and I went to a shelter, I stayed in the shelter, Jen, and I didn't have to pay anything. So I want to create a shelter, Jen, where it's free. I want a free shelter, Jen. I need a grant to give me the building so that I can provide free services because that's what I needed. But it's not free. Think about it. If it were free, why do you need a grant? Why do you need donors? Why do you need sponsors? Why do you have fundraisers? Why do you need partners? That's money. It's not free. It's not free. It's not supposed to be free. Taxes comes out of money. You are a tax exempt organization. That means your organization has the permission to bring in the money, but that's not what you taught, right? We're waiting on a grant, Jen, because I was told that I could get a grant. So now you're waiting on a grant. But you got other streams of revenue. You got other ways money comes into the organization. What are the other ways, Jen? Grants, donors, in kind, partnerships, sponsorships, program fees, collaborations. You've got multiple other ways money, tax exempt money, is supposed to come in for ongoing revenue. That's the work of the organization to cover the ongoing expenses of the program. But because you didn't put the organization together, you only put the program together. Now you got money going out consistently. No money coming in consistently. Only money going out consistently. Now we waiting. We waiting on a grant, Jen. I'm waiting on fundraisers. So that means I'm only bringing in money every now and then. No, Jen, we don't have any donors. No, Jen, we don't have supporters. We don't have sponsors, Jen. Mm-mm. Jen, I'm paying for everything out of my pocket because we don't have any donors. Well, Jen, I'm a nonprofit. We're not supposed to have any money. Jen, I'm a nonprofit. No, a nonprofit organization is a tax exempt organization. Now, why are we tax exempt? Let's go there. Why are we tax exempt? It's not because you have a program, and it's not because you got a piece of paper that says you are recognized as a 501c3. You are tax exempt because you have evidence that you can benefit your community. That's our work. Our work is benefiting the community, not just to run a program or not just to have a piece of paper that says you're a 501c3. We do the work that government cannot do. We do the work that for-profit businesses cannot do. But you never started the organization. You never did. Because the organization is structured and designed to generate the money that's exempt of taxes. You never started it. The only thing you paid for was that program. You poured all of your money, all of your energy into that program, and that's only an expense. It will never raise money. It will never get a grant. It won't. If it could, why hasn't it? Why are you stuck? Why are you still paying for everything out of your pocket? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? I'm going to give you an analogy. Okay? I'm going to give you an analogy. Imagine opening a store because you love the products, right? You love the products. And so you decide that you are going to open a store because you love the products. You decorate the store. It's beautiful. And then you open the doors of the store and people come in to the store. but you don't have an inventory system. You don't have a receipting system. You don't have an accounting system. You don't have a marketing system. You don't have an operational management structure. You just love the product. And so eventually, the pressure of running the store, not the products. We ain't talking about the products, but running the store, the day-to-day, paying the lights, the ordering, the inventory, the accounting, the HR, the hiring staff or help, the hours of operation. None of that is in place. But now you start feeling the pressure of those things not being in place. And that's what's happening with many of your nonprofit organizations. I started a nonprofit organization, Jen. I got my paperwork. I launched the program because that's my passion. But no, I don't have a budget. I don't know how much this thing costs month after month after month. I have no idea of how to raise money. I don't know what the donors and the funders expect. I don't have financial. I don't have any experience running the organization. I don't even know how to get a board. I don't know my role as the executive director of the organization. You're not the executive director of a program. And now you're feeling the pressure. Jen, I'm stuck. Jen, I'm doing everything by myself. Jen, we don't have any funding. Jen, there's no money. Jen, because there's no money, we had to stop the program. Now you're stuck. I'm going to give you another analogy. Many of your organizations look beautiful from the outside. From the outside, your organizations look amazing. You've got a strong mission. You, as the founder, the person who started the organization, you are inspiring. You are passionate. You are clear about how you want to help. You have all these programs that you've created. But there's no engine to this car. It's like saying, I have a car. Look at my car. It's painted beautifully. From looking in the windows, it looks so amazing. You tell the story of how you got the car and your plans for the car and where you want to go in the car and your vision for the car, right? But the car doesn't have an engine. The car does not have an engine. The car doesn't have any wheels. It can't go anywhere. And many of you started your organizations with no engine, no wheels. On the outside, it looks amazing. Your mission is strong. You're inspiring. Your programs look great. But underneath, organizationally, you don't have a budget. You don't have a plan for sustainability. You don't have a donor infrastructure. You don't have money coming in. You don't know how to get funding. You don't know how to sustain it. You don't have a plan for it. You're just doing the program. So eventually, the organization stalls. And this is the part that's important. This is the important part. You all care for people, right? Most of you are doing this work because you really genuinely care about people. And because you care about people and because you really want to help and make a difference, that's why you keep sacrificing. That's why you keep paying for everything out of your pocket. That's why you feel such an urgency and a press to keep the program going, because you care. You can look at the faces and you can see the difference that what you're doing is making. And that emotionally is what's carrying you. And that's why you keep sacrificing. That's why you keep paying for everything out of your pocket. But you're also carrying a lot of emotional pressure, financial pressure, operational chaos. No, Jen, we don't have a budget. No, Jen, we don't have financials. No, Jen, I don't have any help. Jen, I'm doing everything. If anything happens to you, you can't even go away for the weekend. If anything happens to you, everything stops. Operational chaos. You have a board on paper, but they're not functioning. Operational chaos. And that's because no one showed you how to build an organization capable of sustaining the mission long term. That's not what you got when you typed in, how do I start a nonprofit? When you typed in, how do I start a nonprofit organization? Chat, Google, somebody said, start with the paperwork. But the paperwork says your organization knows how to raise money. No one showed you how to set the organization up to raise money. And you, because that's not what you started it for, you didn't start it to set up an organization. You thought my organization and my program were the same thing. Like if I got my 501c3 and if I launched the program, I would get funding for my program. I would get a grant for my program. I would get donors for my program. I would get partners for my program. I would get contributors for my program. But that's not where the money goes. The money goes to the organization. And if the organization is not set up the way that it should to be sustainable, to bring in the money from all the streams of revenue, to sustain the mission long term, they don't trust the organization. Are you hearing me? I want you to imagine it done right. I want you to think about it. I want you to just think about this. I want you to think about the organizations that are doing it right. Okay. I want you to think about the difference between those of you that are struggling, those of you that don't have donors, don't have funding, don't have supporters, don't have contributors, paying for everything out of your pocket. That's done wrong. All right. But I want you to think about what it looks like when it's done right. You see it in the organizations. They have buildings, they have staff, they have multiple programs, they're paying salaries. How do they do that? How do they do that? They set up the organization to do that. They've got a donor system that functions. That means they have a donor acquisition, donor retention, donor cultivation system that works automatically. It's a structure. It's a process that's constantly acquiring new donors. That's what they have. That's what you're supposed to have. They have a fundraising plan. They have leadership that is organized about growing and sustaining the organization. Most of you are spending 95% of your time on the program, but that's not the organization. The program, again, is only an expense. It doesn't raise money. So they have leadership that is focused, that is prepared, that is capable of ensuring the organization is bringing in the money to cover the expenses of the program. Without that, you only have money going out. And you're paying for the money going out. You're paying money going out. You're paying money going out. You're paying money going out. No money coming in. That's an operational issue. Imagine your board in the organization that is set up properly now has a plan, a process for them to follow. Instead of you all having board members thinking, what do you think we should do? I don't know. What do you think we should do? I don't know. What do you think we should do? And because they don't know what to do and you don't know what to do, now you all are just sitting around here stuck. Nobody has a plan. No one has a strategy. No one is able to move the organization forward. Now they're not engaged because they don't know what to do. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. Imagine that the money coming in is consistent and not just from grants. That you've got 8 streams of revenue. Many of you didn't even know you had 8 streams of revenue. 8 streams. What does streams mean, Jan? That you have 8 ways money comes into your organization. Everybody has a minimum of 8. Everybody. Everybody has a minimum of 8. But because all you heard of was grants, now you waiting on a grant. Jen, if I could just get a grant. Jen, if I could just get a grant. As soon as I get a grant, Jen, how do I get a grant? If I could just get a grant. That would solve all my problems, Jen, if I could get a grant. It wouldn't. A grant is not going to pay 100% of your expenses. And the truth is, you got 7 other ways money comes in while you waiting on that grant. If your organization is not set up, you never started the organization. You registered to be recognized as an organization, but you never started the organization. You never set up the organization. You never put the processes, the steps, the systems in place for the organization to generate revenue. You never started the organization. You did not. No one showed you to do it. Who showed you how to do it? And without setting up the organization, hear me now, the donors, the supporters, the contributors, that grant funder can't trust the organization. If the organization is not set up, you don't have financials, you don't have a budget, you don't have a plan for sustainability, no other money is coming in, you're doing everything and you're putting and saying on the 990, we don't have any money, we don't have any money. They can't trust the organization with the money. That's not a money problem. That's not a money problem. That's not a money problem. Because you got 8 ways money comes into the organization, but you didn't set up the organization to bring in the money. That's the problem. Jen, I don't know how to set up the organization. Jen, I don't know how to fundraise. Jen, I don't know how to put together a budget. Jen, I don't know how to do financials. Jen, I don't know how to run the organization. No one ever showed me. And as a result, your donors, your sponsors, your contributors, that grant funder cannot, will not trust the organization with the money. The money doesn't go to the program. And until you set up that organization, you're not going to be able to get partners. Why would a partner, why would a collaborator want to align themselves with an organization, not your program, not your passion for the program, but the organization that doesn't operate, that has no systems, that doesn't have a budget, that doesn't have a plan for sustainability, that doesn't have leadership that knows how to run the organization? Why would they partner with you? Because you got a program? No. Once your organization is set up, because that's what you said you started. Now partners want to align with your organization. Why? Because they know that your organization is going to be around. They know your organization is going to be able to continue to do the work of fulfilling and achieving the mission. But if they feel like you're not even going to be able to achieve the mission, you're not even going to be able to continue, you don't have any money to continue. You're not even showing that you are delivering your mission. You're showing them that your organization is not structured, has no capacity for longevity, has no long-term plan for success. And as a result, they're not investing in it. Now, again, this is not what people say, right? That's not what they're telling you. Who am I? I've been doing nonprofit work for 40 years. I've worked with thousands of organizations. And let me tell you my biggest headache. Let me tell you my biggest headache. My biggest headache is those of you that say, well, Jen, I got an amazing program. I just need a grant. Jen, my program is amazing. I just need a grant, Jen. I need a startup grant for my program. And I keep saying, your program is not what gets the money. Maybe I should hire a grant writer, Jen. You think I should hire a grant writer to get me a grant? The grant writer can't get you a grant if your organization is not set up. Now you looking at other people who say, they got $1 million grant, Jen. They got a $2 million grant, Jen. They got $25,000 grant, Jen. How come I can't get a grant? They got a grant. They may have got that grant. I don't know the circumstances, but what I do know is this. When those grant dollars have been spent, where else is money coming from? Now, some of you might assume, well, Jen, won't they give me a grant? Won't they just keep giving me a grant, Jen? Won't they just underwrite and sustain my organization or my program long term? Won't they just keep giving me money? Won't they just keep giving me a grant year after year after year after year after year? Won't they just keep giving me a grant, Jen, so I can run my program? No, they won't. That is not how that works. It's impossible. Your organization is structured and designed to operate even without a grant. You've got other money that's supposed to be coming in for salaries, for materials, for supplies, for accounting, for bookkeeping, for fundraising. Your organization is supposed to have the money to operate, not you pay all the expenses of the organization. I need you guys to think about this. And this is the shift that you must make. That's if you really want to make a difference in your community. That's if you really want to meet need in your community. You've got to stop asking, how do I start a nonprofit? Or how do I get a grant? Or where do I find donors? Or how do I find partners? That's not the question to ask. You need to start asking, how do I build an organization capable of sustaining the work we want to do? Until you make that shift, you're going to continue to struggle. Because you think the issue is outside. I need a grant. I need a donor. I need a sponsor. I need a board. You need all those things. But none of those things is going to position, equip, structure the organization to sustain itself. You're busy looking outside. Your issue is you never started the nonprofit organization. Turn to your neighbor church and say, what? You got a whole piece of paper. You got a 501c3. You got a website, and you never started the organization. You started the program only. And until you start saying to yourself, how do I build an organization? An organization is not your program. Until that clicks, you're going to continue to spiral. You're going to continue to struggle until that clicks. You are going to be funding everything out of your own pocket. But as soon as you realize, I got to build this organization, the organization is the funding, is the operations, is the sustainability. The organization is what positions the growth, not the program. Without the money coming into the organization, you can't even do that program. All right. I know it's a lot. And I tell you what chat doesn't tell you. I tell you what Google doesn't tell you. I tell you what YouTube University doesn't tell you. And those of you that are out here searching, Jen, how do I find grants? Jen, how do I get donors? Jen, how do I find board members? Jen, how do I? The how do you is setting up that organization. That will solve all of your problems. Because what you are searching for is found in the organization. The way the organization is supposed to be structured with a fundraising plan, knowing where money comes from, the ability to attract, to approach, to identify your prospective donors and supporters, knowing how to get the first gift and then the second donation, knowing how to set up monthly giving, regular donors, annual donors, knowing how to attract major donors and corporations. Money is not the problem. The problem is you never set up the organization, which is designed to operate and solve all of those problems. That's why it's hard, because you never started the nonprofit organization. You only launched the program. Who am I? I help nonprofit leaders build the actual infrastructure that organizations need to survive, to grow, and sustain the mission. If that organization is not set up with the infrastructure, that's not a board, that's not the articles of incorporation, that is not a 501c3 or an EIN, that's paper. On paper, you look like your organization is set up, but you know it's not. You know it's not. That's why it's not raising any money, and it's supposed to. That's why you don't have any donors, and it's supposed to. It's not set up. And until you decide, I need to set that up, you're going to continue to struggle. That's the reality. That's going to end your searching. That's going to help you to no longer be stuck. That's going to also open up the streams of revenue that are exempt of taxes that you're supposed to have. I work with leaders who want the systems, who want the fundraising infrastructure, who want to be ready for donors. You're not ready to get money because you got a program. The grant funder is not even going to give you any money. Who are ready to be sustainable. That means consistent cash flow from the streams of revenue. That means you have the operational structure to know where and how to not just get a grant, but how do you get the other streams of revenue? Not just to get a donor, but how do you get them to continue to give beyond that one-time gift? That's operational structure for ongoing revenue. That has nothing to do with your program. That's organizational work. Listen, y'all are not failing. Y'all are not stuck because of lack of passion. You are struggling because no one taught you. No one taught you how to build the organization beyond the mission, how to build the organization beyond the program. And the truth is this: until you put that organization together, you're going to continue to struggle. Guaranteed. Until you put that organization together, you're going to continue to struggle. That's just the way it's set up. All right? I hope I've been clear. I hope I've been clear. And when you decide to say, Jen, how do I set up my organization to be sustainable, to pay salaries, to grow, to scale, to increase our reach and our impact? How do I grow the organization, Jen, to sustain itself so that it's not coming off your credit card, out of your personal finances? The organization is supposed to pay its own expenses. That's what I do. And I've been doing this work for 40 years. I'm not new to this. Helping organizations, both nationally and internationally, set up their organizations, not just to start it, but to grow it and to sustain it. And this is the other truth: I'm the only one that does it. I'm the only one that does it. That's the truth. You may go out here and take a fundraising class, but that no fundraising. You can't raise funds if the organization is not set up. You may go out and take a grant writing class, but the grant funder is not giving you that money because you have an application. It's your organization that they're investing in. Everything leads back to the organizational structure. Everything. Everything. Okay? When you all are ready, I'm here to help. My name is Jennifer. I am your nonprofit expert. 40 years. And my goal and my passion is to ensure that you don't just start your nonprofit, but that you know how to run it and how to sustain it. Okay? Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.